What if an entire town slowly began to break? Not all at once, but piece by piece until no one even noticed it happening. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This is the story of a small American town where life didn't fall apart overnight but gradually lost its balance. A place where reality shifted, one small moment at a time. In the late 19th century, deep in the forests of Wisconsin, there was a quiet town called Black River Falls. On the map, it was barely noticeable, but to the people who lived there, it meant everything. It was a chance to start over, to build something stable from nothing. Most of the residents were immigrants, Norwegians and Germans who had crossed an ocean with a simple goal: to create a better life. They arrived with hope and determination. They built homes with their own hands and believed the hardest part was already behind them. But what they found was not opportunity, it was resistance. The land was difficult and success required more than effort. Winters stretched on longer than expected. Cold winds cut through wood walls and supplies often didn't last as long as they needed to. Crops failed again and again. What should have been a reliable source of survival became unpredictable and fragile. At the same time, jobs began to disappear. Mines closed, work slowed down, and families were left with fewer and fewer options. Debt became a constant presence. It didn't arrive all at once. It built slowly, quietly, until it was impossible to ignore. At first, life continued as usual. People still gathered, still worked, still followed their routines, as if nothing had changed. But beneath that surface, pressure was building, not in one place, but everywhere, slowly affecting how people thought and lived. Years later, a historian named Michael Leasey would uncover something unusual hidden in the town's archives, something that told a very different story. He found old newspapers, stacked and preserved over decades, thousands of pages documenting daily life in Black River Falls. At first, everything seemed normal. Announcements, advertisements, community events, nothing out of the ordinary. But as he kept reading, something began to stand out. The same names appeared again and again, but not in celebration. They appeared in short reports, quiet, factual descriptions of incidents that seemed small on their own, but unsettling when repeated. Each story was brief, almost emotionless. No dramatic language, no detailed explanations, just a few lines describing what had happened. But when those stories were read together, something changed. They formed a pattern that was impossible to ignore. One report described two young boys leaving home early in the morning. They walked for hours, far beyond where they were supposed to be. Eventually they reached a remote farm. There was no one else around, just silence, open land, and a single isolated house. What happened next would later be recorded in the newspaper in just a few lines, the kind of event that feels unreal when you try to imagine it. The report didn't explain motives or emotions, it simply stated the outcome, leaving readers to fill in the gaps themselves. Another case described a burial that didn't feel entirely certain. Something about the situation made people question what had really happened. When the case was revisited, it revealed how limited medical knowledge could lead to tragic misunderstandings. Not horror, but human error. There were also stories shaped by emotional strain, families dealing with illness, loss, and isolation over long periods of time. One report described a mother walking with her children toward a river. It was an ordinary day on the surface, nothing that stood out. But the outcome was later recorded in a short, quiet article. Again, no explanation, just a sequence of events that spoke for itself. The absence of detail made it even more unsettling. It forced readers to imagine what might have led to that moment. Some stories were driven not by poverty or illness, but by something less visible. A sense of emotional exhaustion that built over time. In one case, a young worker admitted to starting a fire simply to feel something different. Life had become too repetitive, too empty. Days began to blur together, one after another. The work never changed, the routine stayed the same, and the future felt uncertain and distant. And when there is no clear future, even small disruptions can start to feel meaningful, even dangerous ones. When these stories are read separately, they seem rare, but together they create a very different picture of the town. It begins to feel as if the entire community was under pressure, not from anything supernatural, but from reality itself. Harsh winters, economic collapse, disease, and isolation formed a combination that was difficult for anyone to escape. And over time, that pressure affected how people thought, how they reacted, and how they made decisions. It's important to understand that these events were real. They were documented carefully and preserved in historical records. How these events were later presented also played a role. Michael Lizzi chose to focus on the darkest stories and place them together. In his book, he created a narrative that feels almost surreal, a version of the town where only the most extreme moments exist. But that wasn't the full reality. It was a perspective, a focused lens on the most difficult parts of life in that time and place. If someone documented only the worst moments from any town, the result would likely feel just as unsettling. Black River Falls was not a cursed town. It was a community dealing with real challenges that over time brought people to their limits. And maybe that's what makes this story so powerful. It's not about something supernatural. It's about how fragile normal life can become under pressure.